Welcome to the WWE Podcast, your number one source for the latest in WWE news and straightforward analysis. Are you ready to get this thing going?
Give me a hell yeah! I said give me a hell yeah!
Then let's get this show started right now.
All right, everybody, guys and girls, welcome back to another edition of the SmackDown Review right here on the WWE Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Michael Ritter. You can find me on Twitter at Michael5Ritter and on Instagram, MichaelRitter5, also the host of the Football Function Podcast. But on today's episode of the SmackDown Review, we're going to be talking about the SmackDown that aired on August 13th, 2021, Friday the 13th, from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Just a little fun fact about Tulsa. As you guys know, I went to the SmackDown that was in Houston back in July, which was the first one back in front of fans. And despite Houston being in the same state as where I'm from, Amarillo, Texas, and Tulsa, Oklahoma not being in the same state, obviously, Tulsa is still about 3.5 hours closer. Tulsa is about 5 hours from where I'm from, and Houston's about 8.5 hours. So, just gives a little perspective on how big Texas is. You can go all the way across Texas and it'll take you like 16 hours, and I can drive to Atlanta and it'll also take about 16 hours. So it's just pretty crazy geographically how big the state is. But other than that, the SmackDown itself, I mean, if I was going to give it a letter grade, I'd probably give it a B+. You know, just kind of it wasn't necessarily the best episode of SmackDown I've ever seen, although the ratings do show that it was the best SmackDown in a very long time, since December, so the best one in the 2021 calendar year. That's pretty impressive. I mean, I'm not really surprised given that John Cena and Roman Reigns had their long-awaited face-to-face. Their in-person promo, just both of them in the same ring, not on the Jumbotron, not talking to each other from, in front of a camera, cutting a backstage segment. So I really enjoyed getting to see that. Finally, I thought that was a nice touch, a nice way to start the show, because that is how SmackDown started. And it was a 25-minute segment, so it took up almost a quarter of the entire show. And sometimes, like we've said, these things happen on SmackDown, whether it's like a 6-man tag match or like a gauntlet match, something like that. There's usually one segment that takes up a big chunk of the show, and it just will happen to be the opening segment of the show this time. But since that is the opening segment of the show, we might as well start there. And I feel like this one actually delivered. I thought that the face-to-face, we've all been waiting for it. I felt like it came through, in my opinion, at least on John Cena's end. Roman Reigns showed that he did take some steps forward from their last interaction in 2017. He did seem more comfortable, but John Cena was still on another level, and that's just obvious. And it's not like Roman Reigns wasn't taking personal shots too, because he was. Obviously, he brought up the Nikki Bella stuff, which you could tell John Cena, like, hey, I'll give you that. It was almost like getting in a fight with somebody who you know you're going to win, and they just hit you with a jab that rocks you. You're like, dang, good shot. I feel like that's kind of how John Cena took that Nikki Bella reference. But beyond that, I feel like the shots that John Cena was taking, they held more weight. Because the Nikki Bella stuff, that's low-hanging fruit, in my personal opinion. That's easy stuff. John Cena kind of took some easy shots too, mentioning Roman Reigns, the work he had done on his teeth and how he's protected and all that stuff. But I feel like the shots that he was taking were very real. I mean, he mentioned Dean Ambrose, for Christ's sake. He also mentioned Seth Rollins. And just everything that Roman Reigns has had in his advantage during his time in WWE and for the past nearly a decade, according to John Cena, being quote-unquote pushed time and time again. He has failed time and time again. Now, I'm a Roman Reigns fan. I was a Roman Reigns fan whenever he was getting booed, and that's well documented here on this show. So it's not like I am Team Cena on this thing, but I can call it like I see it and, call it like it is. And whenever it comes to the promo work, John Cena is a natural. He's the favorite, I guess, going into anything. I mean, I've already said it on the show. The Rock, one of the best promos we've ever seen. He's up there with Ric Flair in terms of the greatest of all time. And I feel like John Cena, whenever they had their program, John Cena was right there with him, if not better. So I'm a big fan of the work that John Cena does on the mic. And he did say, he alluded to it several times, he knows that Roman Reigns is probably going to beat the hell out of him. In fact, we all know Roman Reigns is going to beat the hell out of him. In fact, I have said this before, I'm not sure on this show, but I know that I've mentioned it definitely back a long time ago before I had this podcast, is whenever I first started watching wrestling in this era, I noticed things about Roman Reigns matches that I didn't notice about other ones, and that's the physicality in terms of taking real shots. I felt like for a while there, Roman Reigns was actually hitting his opponents pretty damn hard. And I'm not sure if it was just the fact that he was new to the wrestling world, like as a full-time wrestler, and was still just getting used to the whole thing, or if it was more so just his style. And I do feel like that's kind of changed. He's gotten better. He's not like Nia Jax out there, but I was on record saying, if you have a match with Roman Reigns, you better be ready to take some shots, because that's just what's going to happen. So John Cena acknowledged that. He said, look, I already know Roman Reigns is going to beat the hell out of me. And then he pointed at Paul Heyman and said, but that guy knows more than anyone that I can take a beating and keep coming over and over again, because all I need is 1, 2, 3 to take that championship from you and become the 17-time world champion. Now, he obviously mentioned that by saying, so this match could be history-making and all that. I mean, John Cena is trying to promote the match. He's one of the best of all time at doing that as well. He knows how to sell. He knows how to make you interested in a program and make you want to watch it. And he even said multiple times that we're going to meet at the quote-unquote grandest stage of them all, or maybe biggest stage of them all is what he said. I think that was the thing that separated the two, because he said the biggest stage of them all. Maybe I misunderstood it, but I always thought that's how WrestleMania was referenced. And it could be the grandest stage of them all, like that specifically WrestleMania. And John Cena didn't say that. He said the biggest stage of them all. But either way, it kind of caught me off guard. I was like, wait a minute. I know they're trying to make this SummerSlam feel like WrestleMania, but are they actually trying to like steal WrestleMania's taglines like that? I mean, it could just be something that's small, a little bit of a nitpick thing on my end, and that John Cena really wasn't even trying to reference WrestleMania at all. He was just trying to really hit it home how big of a match this is and how big of a pay-per-view SummerSlam is in general. But Roman Reigns eventually said, you're a big star, John Cena. I know that's why you chose to come back and wrestle me. Obviously, I am the most relevant in the company. I am the best in the company and the biggest name. So you want to be relevant, so you come back and you want to be involved in a program with me. And he said most of that stuff on the Pat McAfee show whenever he was interviewed there, and you could tell he was definitely taking some shots at John Cena, and that's, it could be just to promote the match as well. But a lot of people think that some of the animosity between Roman Reigns and John Cena, there is some real stuff there, some real feelings, but he doesn't think that John Cena can win the Universal Championship. John Cena has never won the Universal Championship, so I guess we will see if he adds that accolade to his very decorated resume, because he doesn't have one yet. But if he does, this will be considered a world championship victory. This will be the 17th. Now, does anybody think it's actually going to happen? No. We think that there are bigger fish to fry for Roman Reigns. In terms of people like The Rock, maybe, another run-in with Brock Lesnar at some point, given that Paul Heyman is kind of involved in all this. I feel like that storyline kind of writes itself. And there's some other names in the company, obviously Finn Balor, and Seth Rollins has kind of been mentioning the Universal Championship several times, so you can expect him to be involved in it soon too. There's a lot of avenues that Roman Reigns is going to be able to go, but I feel like in terms of the face-to-face promo that we got, the opening segment of SmackDown, I do feel like it was pretty good, and I think that we're probably going to get a little bit more, but I do think that if we're keeping score here, John Cena definitely won this one, and you could just see the look on Roman Reigns' face. John Cena's music got played at the end. He basically got the last words. If I'm keeping score here and you're asking my opinion, I definitely think that John Cena got the edge there on Roman Reigns. But continuing on here, let's move on to something else that happened here in the show. Let's see here. I'll wait and I'll save the Bianca Belair stuff for later on and the Sasha Banks stuff. So I feel like that's another juicy topic, and I don't want to talk about the two juiciest things in the show right out of the gate. So let's see. I'll talk about this tag team match here, the Street Profits versus Alpha Academy. And obviously here, let's see what they said. Angelo Dawkins ended up hitting Chad Gable with a corkscrew neck breaker. This is CBS Sports here. And so the Street Profits obviously get the win. But one thing I noticed here in this match was that Otis would not go down. It was very hard, even for Angelo Dawkins, somebody that big, to get Otis off his feet, and just shots really weren't affecting him. And that's really what I like to see, because I've said multiple times that I think Otis has a pretty big future here in this heel role as a single star. I do love what I'm seeing from the Alpha Academy. I do not want that to be split up, and especially in a world where tag teams are few and far between. You want to keep them together. You want to keep Otis with a guy like Gable, who's going to add to his character and just continue to make Otis more and more evil. Because without Chad Gable, who knows if this heel turn would have worked out? I don't think it would have. Gable's obviously the one who kind of recruited him, took him under his wing, was pushing his buttons, and ended up pulling this more physical side out of him. And it's been going on for a pretty long time now, I guess. I'm not sure exactly the timeline and the time frame on all of this, but it's working. Needless to say, the changes that Otis has made to his personal appearance, the way he's being booked in matches, I feel like all of that just adds to this heel turn and this character change, and it's something that I personally can't get enough of. I'm excited to see the steps going forward, how they're going to do this. Even in a loss, that's what I took away from this match, was that Otis is a guy who, kind of similar to Big E, heading into the Royal Rumble, and whenever he was, first by himself, and we thought maybe he'd be getting that bigger push than what he's getting, kind of his initial singles run, where he just looked like he was going at a different speed. Whenever you're watching like a 6-man tag match that happened to feature Big E, anytime he would get the hot tag, it just looked like he was on another level than the other people in the match, and I feel like Otis is kind of starting to reach that territory. One note I did see from this match, though, was Montez Ford. He jumped over to do like a suicide dive kind of over the top rope to take out Otis, and he might have overshot it a little bit, but it wasn't, he didn't get hurt or anything like that, but he came very close to hitting the announce table with his head, and it was just one of those falls that, there's a very small margin for error for you to get injured there. So glad that Montez Ford was able to get up, and they ended up getting the win. Another tag team there. So I don't want to see either one of these tag teams go anywhere. We have two more. We have another tag team match later on in the night. So, I feel like the SmackDown division the SmackDown roster is doing a good job with their tag team division as of late. And hopefully they will continue to do that and not split any of these teams up, because I'm liking what I'm seeing from all these guys. So, let's see. Continuing on here, I guess we can talk about the other tag team match since I already kind of referenced it here. And I will say, this is where things, or at least in my personal opinion, I have to get a little bit negative. Now, it's not anything too bad. It's just Dominic. Now, they ended up winning this match with a roll-up, so they ended up getting the win, and then the Usos popped up on the Jumbotron, and we kind of got a little bit of a tease that we're going to get a rematch with these two teams for those SmackDown Tag Team Championships. But I just noticed that sometimes with Dominic, I don't know if it's just who he's wrestling with, if he's more comfortable with some people, or some nights he's just better than others, because that's going to happen. Just like in any sport, you're going to have a bad day. You're going to show up to work and you're going to not perform. If it's football, you're going to maybe be dropping passes or just making bad throws if you're a quarterback. If you're in basketball, you might be missing shots that you'd normally be making, things like that. So I feel like with Dominic, and he's still so new, so it's hard to tell if they just brought him up way too early or if he's just kind of an inconsistent performer right now. Because I just really wasn't impressed with him. I feel like this was one of the nights where he looked like he shouldn't have been in the ring, to be honest. And I'm not trying to exaggerate here, but whenever I'm talking about him being inconsistent or maybe just hot and cold, I feel like some nights he looks like he is absolutely on the right path to being a WWE superstar, and you could see the growth and the development. I've called it out multiple times that I'm impressed, and I've been watching it. But whenever it's the other side, I feel like I have to acknowledge that too. And some nights it looks like he does not belong in the ring. And I feel like this was one of those nights. It just looked like Dolph Ziggler and Rick Rude were just so much more polished. And I know that they are. Obviously, Dominic's he's a lot more new than those guys. He has not even close to the experience they have, but it's just so obvious, in my opinion. And I don't know. It's not, like the world is going to end for Dominic and he's going to get released or anything like that. I want to see him be better, I guess. I don't know. I want to see him take that next step forward. And maybe I'm just being a little bit impatient with it, and I should just relax, take a step back. But I just wasn't really impressed with their performance, and winning with the roll-up really didn't help. But it was everything. It was his striking. It was him doing like a crossbody off the top rope. There was just a lot of things that I personally was not impressed with in this match. But like I said, they got the win. And him and his father are likely going to get a rematch for those SmackDown Tag Team Championships. I don't think that they're going to win them, though. I don't. I know that the Usos really haven't been involved with Roman Reigns over the past couple of weeks. They have their own storyline. Although John Cena did reference them. He said, you have your two little goons with you. They weren't out there with him, but he kind of pointed to them like they were. I haven't seen him in a couple weeks. So I really wasn't sure what John Cena was referencing there. Or at least because, I mean, in their program with John Cena, I haven't seen the Usos attack John. There hasn't been any action like that. I feel like with Edge, yeah, they were all over Edge, but it's different here with John Cena. But in what has become a deep division in the tag team divisions on SmackDown, the Usos are that fifth team when you look at the Mysterios, Ziggler and Rude, the Street Profits, the Alpha Academy, and then you look at the Usos. The Usos are they're that top dog. They're the fifth team. Not in order, like they're not ranked fifth, but whenever, in terms of teams that I've mentioned on the show, the Usos are the fifth one. But they are the team that I feel like is the most legit. They are the ones who deserve to be the champions, and all these other teams should be competing, trying to get there. And in my personal opinion, the Alpha Academy is probably scratching at their, I don't want to say at their heels, but they're scratching and clawing trying to get there. It would help if they'd beat a team like the Street Profits on their way, but hey, you're not going to be able to win them all. And the Street Profits are also a team who are trying to insert themselves back into that championship picture. So I like what they're doing here. They're making every team seem like they're kind of neck and neck, except for the champion, because not everybody needs to be on an equal playing field. But when you're looking at these competitors, you want it to seem like it is kind of like a horse race, or like a dog fight, I guess you can say. You don't want it to just be a clean sweep for one person, just go all their way through. So I feel like if you're making these tag teams look somewhat like they're on the same level, whoever does end up coming out on top, it might seem like they actually earned it, and we might get a tournament here or something like that. But it does seem like the Mysterios are the ones who are in the driver's seat for the, can I say, number one contender spot, or is it just they're the head contender? I'm not really sure what direction I should go there, but they're the number one contender in my opinion, and I do expect SummerSlam, whether it's in the pre-show or very early in the actual card, I expect the Mysterios and the Usos to have a rematch for those SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Moving on to something else that happened here in the show. Something that's been pretty entertaining as of lately. It's the Baron Corbin stuff. And he came out to SmackDown tonight, and he began to ask the entire arena, everybody in the crowd, I'm not sure how many people were there, but probably, 10,000 plus. You never really know how accurate the reports are from WWE, but you can expect it to be, around 14,000, somewhere around there for the average show like a Raw or a SmackDown. So he was trying to get a pretty penny, I guess you can say, a pretty good chunk of money from the crowd. And Baron Corbin was not going to get away with it, though, because Kevin Owens ended up coming out. And he basically says, dude, stop. You went to Monday Night Raw. You asked Drew McIntyre for $100,000. You're asking me for money. You're asking everybody you can, even the WWE Universe. You need to just cut it out. If you want to earn some money, I'll give you an opportunity. And if you can beat me in a match one-on-one right now, I will give you $1,000. And Baron Corbin began to poke him in the chest and kind of tell him that he's really stingy or something like that. He really didn't get a chance to finish because Kevin Owens hit him with a stunner. They had their match, and the match ended up going on a pretty long time. I thought it was going to be a squash, but you can tell even the announce team was kind of putting over that Baron Corbin was despite his bad luck in his actual life, it seems like his in-ring wrestling work was still at least somewhat up to speed, and he was doing a good job against Kevin Owens. I will say, before I forget here, while he was asking the crowd to give him money, he said that he had one of those credit card scanners attached to his phone. And Pat McAfee asked, how does a bum like Corbin get a hold of a credit card scanner? Stuff like that, just trying to poke holes into a story. And then during the match, Michael Cole said, Oh yeah, I forgot to tell. I heard during the commercial break that Baron Corbin, that cell phone he had earlier, was actually on his mom's cell phone plan, and I thought that was kind of funny that Michael Cole got in on the fun, and roasted Baron Corbin a little bit. But Kevin Owens obviously wins this match, despite it being a little bit more competitive than I expected. I was still definitely impressed with what Baron Corbin was able to do, and I was glad Kevin Owens got the win. He didn't have to give Baron Corbin any money or anything like that. But the night wasn't over for Baron Corbin, and his luck may have turned around just a little bit. And I don't know what they're going to do with this, and if they're going to make it legit, because, I mean, it has happened before. People have stolen the Money in the Bank briefcase in the past, but that's what happened here. He stole Big E's briefcase when Big E was backstage, and he got away with it. So we haven't really got to touch on it yet. Maybe we'll get some more social media videos throughout the week of Baron Corbin maybe getting it stolen back or hiding out with it or something like that. Maybe asking for money despite having the contract. Who knows? The fact that it's not just a Monday Night Raw, SmackDown thing, it's actually going on throughout the week, and he's playing into the character more through his social media. I feel like that adds to it, and it makes it more entertaining. People are actually really liking this stuff. And it's showing a side of Corbin that really, I don't feel like anybody's gotten to see yet. I mean, of course, we're getting to see it now, but before this, nobody really has. So I'm definitely enjoying this stuff, and I'm excited to see if he's going to get the hell kicked out of him by Big E to get that contract back. If he's going to actually try to cash it in, that's something that is definitely going to be interesting to see going forward. I'm sure it's not going to last long. Whatever happens, I mean, I'm sure it's going to happen either during the week or on SmackDown. So will not be a very long reign for Big E, or not for Big E, for Baron Corbin with that internet, or I don't know why I'm slipping up here, the Money in the Bank contract. He will not have it for very long. Either he's going to cash it in and fail like he has before in the past whenever he actually won it, or Big E is going to beat the hell out of him and get it stolen back. So either way, it's not going to last very much longer. Another thing that happened here in the show was Seth Rollins. He cut a pretty good promo about Edge. We didn't get to see Edge, but he had a video package ready. It was kind of lining up his and Edge's career and pointing out how there are some similarities, but Edge isn't necessarily as impressive with Rollins. This is basically what it was. Rollins was trying to say, everything you've done, I've done better. Now, this is kind of something that I've seen him do in the past. He used this same type of angle with Finn Balor when they were talking. Everything you've done, I did first and kind of better. Now he's using it with Edge, saying everything you've done, I've done after you and done it better. So it's kind of like he's playing both sides, and that's just good heel work. He's doing a phenomenal job. No matter what side he's on, he's going to make it look like he is the more impressive one. And in this particular case, he might not have been wrong. I mean, even in Finn Balor's case, obviously, too, that's arguable. And even this one is. It's all subjective. But whenever he was comparing the two, Edge's cash-in was the first one, if I'm not mistaken, on John Cena. Very, very impressive. Very memorable. Everybody knows exactly. If you were a wrestling fan in that time, you remember where you were, or you remember the time period when that happened. But Seth Rollins, when he cashed in at WrestleMania 31, the heist of the century, I do feel like that was the best cash-in of all time. He's mentioned other things. Hey, and I will say, they did show the footage of him with his foot on his neck. They showed that footage on SmackDown. I do believe it was during this package, too, if I'm not mistaken. I know at some point during the show, they showed the footage, so I did like to see that. They didn't elaborate on it. They didn't give it like its own segment where they kind of addressed it specifically, but I saw it. So I'm sure some other people did, too, and they probably wanted to, kind of the Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's pointing at the TV. That's kind of what I was doing, and I was definitely glad to see that. But it was a good promo from Seth Rollins. He's one of the best in the business when cutting a promo. He's one of the best heels going right now. And this match with Edge, like we've all said, it could be match of the night. And I'm excited for next week to see if Edge shows up, gives us one more good promo, because the last one he cut wasn't his best, and we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but I do feel like he is going to at least say something. I mean, he showed up the week after getting hit in the face with a camera. So I do feel like at some point we're going to see Edge make a return before SummerSlam, and he's going to address Seth Rollins and give us one more promo for that go-home show, since SummerSlam is going to be on a Saturday. That's crazy. It's going to be immediately So I'm going to have to record SmackDown immediately after the SmackDown goes off the air. I'm going to have to record the review because the next day is a pay-per-view show. So that's going to affect the schedule, but don't worry, we will adjust accordingly. That's one thing we do here. And I want to make sure that the SmackDown gets out in plenty of, in enough time for you guys to listen to it before the show. But I will say, sometimes you cannot control what happens on the outside. I should have addressed this at the beginning of the show. But the reason why the SmackDown review is coming out a little bit late this week is because of my stupid internet, which is a problem that everybody has dealt with at some point in their life. But long story short, I don't know what happened. Basically, my internet on the outside of my house, like in the back, got just straight up disconnected. Now, I have a neighbor whose house is like connected to mine, so it very easily could have just been a misunderstanding where like they were getting new internet. Hey, what's this? I don't know. Unscrew it, and we lose our internet. But it got fixed, so here I am recording. But this has been going on since like Wednesday night, Thursday. And so Thursday is actually whenever I noticed that the Wi-Fi was going on because I was supposed to record my show on the football function. And that didn't go down. It didn't happen because of the internet situation. But as soon as I got the internet fixed, literally as soon as the guy left my house, I hopped on here so I could do the SmackDown review. So at least you guys know where my priorities are. But anyways, let's see. Continuing on here in the show. Not too much stuff left, but definitely a little bit. As we already talked about the Seth Rollins stuff, I'm definitely excited about the Go Home show next week. But let's see what else we got here. We already talked about Baron Corbin. We're actually getting through the show. There's really only one more thing other than the Sasha Banks and the Bianca stuff that we still need to talk about. We still have to talk about the Intercontinental Championship match and title switch between Apollo Crews and Shinsuke Nakamura. Shinsuke is the one who ended up taking the title off of Apollo Crews. This is something we kind of knew was about to happen. Apollo Crews was on that downward spiral. Eventually you're going to hit the bottom. And we knew that eventually a babyface was going to take the championship off of him. It ended up being Shinsuke Nakamura. And this is his first singles championship run on the main roster as a face. He's been a heel before and been champion, but now he's a babyface. And I didn't realize the connection with the King. Obviously, the King is strong style. And now he's wearing that crown. So I do like that there is at least somewhat of a quote-unquote King reference in his character from the past. So it's not just like the King of the Ring nonsense. And I will say, I'm sure you guys know this by now, but the King of the Ring was announced. It's going to take place like in September and October, and the finals is going to be held in Saudi Arabia, as well as the women's finals for the Queen of the Ring. And I'm not sure who tweeted it or who posted it on Twitter or whatever. I know I saw it on the internet, so I'm not taking credit for it. But they saw that the finals were going to be taking place in Saudi Arabia, and they said, wow, I can't wait for Hulk Hogan to win the King of the Ring. Obviously that's just a joke that they always bring out retired guys for the Saudi Arabia show. So I thought that was funny. Whoever posted that, definitely credit to you, but that was just good stuff. As far as Shinsuke Nakamura winning, Rick Boogs and Commander Aziz both got sent backstage. They both got banned from ringside during the match for interference. Shinsuke wins with a Kinshasa and gets the championship. And I've said before, I initially predicted it to be Cesaro, but it ended up being Shinsuke. Either way, I think that Otis is going to be a guy who is very close, or at least at the head of the line, very close to the front of the line, to have a chance at that Intercontinental Championship. It could be his first championship that he has in WWE. We'll see. I don't know if Shinsuke is going to drop it anytime soon. He's doing a really good job right now with Rick Boogs, so I don't know, but Otis is somebody who I kind of initially thought had a chance at being the one who was the next heel in line. I knew a babyface was going to take it from Apollo. Now you got to turn the page whenever he's done with Apollo, because they're probably going to have a rematch, maybe at SummerSlam. If the Alpha Academy isn't in the Tag Team Championship picture, who knows? Maybe we could see Otis attack Shinsuke, and we could get some Alpha Academy versus Rick Boogs and Shinsuke Nakamura content on SmackDown for a few weeks leading into, I don't even know what pay-per-view. I want to say Unforgiven, but that's back to the Ruthless Aggression days. I don't know what pay-per-views in September nowadays, but I guess we'll find out. Maybe it's Night of Champions, Clash of Champions, whatever pay-per-view that is. I think that might be the one in September, but I will find out and know for sure. One other thing, though, that I just actually some not really breaking news, but one of my buddies here that's from the same area I am, I want to give him credit, Clay Herdina. He actually texted me and he showed me that Jeff Hardy is going to be doing a meet and greet here in my hometown in Emerald, Texas, later this month. So you guys can already know I am going to be doing that for sure. Definitely going to be getting an autograph or a picture or something like that. So I will post that to my Twitter, which you can follow me at Michael5Ritter. So definitely want to give Clay a shout out for breaking that news to me, and that's definitely some good news for sure. But that leaves us with one more thing to talk about, and it's what happened for SmackDown going off the air, the last segment, and it is the program with Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Now, this was supposed to be just your regular contract signing for a championship match, but of course, there's always going to be something that happens. Now, the contract ended up being signed, but something that caught me off guard was Sasha brought out some lackeys, and it was Carmella and Zelina Vega, two girls who she was literally beating the hell out of either a week ago or the week before that. Either way, she was just in a program with Carmella for a long time, with Reginald being involved and stuff like that. So it was just weird to see Carmella and Zelina just at the drop of a hat show up and be Sasha's lackeys. Getting bossed around. They after the contract was signed, they had a little bit of a brawl with Bianca Belair, and I just thought it was weird that they kind of didn't address any of that. I thought it was weird that they just were helping for whatever reasons. Sasha didn't say. She just said that I am going to have some witnesses or something like that, and they came out individually, although they were kind of in matching clothes. It wasn't like identical clothes, but you could tell the similarities. So that threw me off guard right there. But I don't really know. I don't feel like Sasha needs lackeys, although she's a heel, so it doesn't really hurt to have lackeys. But Carmella and Zelina, I thought that those two were at least, decent singles competitors. Usually lackeys are for bottom of the roster guys, like Jackson Riker type of guys, people who you're trying to develop, on the side or something like that. Not women who are getting championship opportunities, because what if Carmella wins? Isn't Zelina Vega supposed to be next in line? Is it just going to be like, we got to fight now, but you're still my lackey? I feel like this was just weird. It all happened so soon, and I didn't really get a chance to, because it happened last night, so obviously we don't really know what to expect yet, but they could all be just a setup for Zelina Vega to maybe push her character a little bit, give her something to do. Maybe she's going to set up Sasha Banks. I don't really know. I thought it was confusing, though. I definitely want to know what you guys think about that. And I'm looking forward. Hopefully you guys call in on the mailbag. I know there's some Sasha Banks fans out there, so I know you guys will be giving your thoughts. Also, speaking of the mailbag, I do want to give a shout out to the Casual Wrestling crew, the Casual Wrestling Fan and Mrs. Casual Wrestling Fan. They did a badass job on the mailbag episode this past week. It was entertaining as hell. I love the format, love the delivery. Not even exaggerating. You guys deserve to have your own show. You guys can do it. You guys would have some followers. I tell you that. That was some good stuff, and I definitely enjoyed y'all's perspective, y'all's opinions, the way you delivered. Like I said, it was just some good stuff, and I definitely hope that we get to do that a little bit more often. Maybe take a little bit of the load off of Matt. I know he's got a lot on his plate right now. Maybe you guys can do your part and help out a little bit, and maybe do another takeover and take over the mailbag here in the coming weeks, because that was pretty fun. But either way, I definitely enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to the mailbag this week. If you guys got any questions or anything like that, definitely shoot them in there, and I will answer whatever questions you have or anything like that. I do want to apologize once again for my stupid internet delaying this and making it a way more stressful process than it needed to be, but it is good now. For the moment, the problem should be resolved, and hopefully we will not have any more problems, but you never know. It's always something, it seems like. So that's just life, and we will continue to get through it and keep this train rolling. But that was SmackDown. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I know that you guys are going to get the weekend review here coming up. I'm not sure who's going to be the host, likely Matt. So I myself am also looking forward to that, to getting their opinions on the John Cena, Roman Reigns face-to-face, the Bianca Belair stuff, everything else that's going on, like Shinsuke taking the Intercontinental Championship. SmackDown's kicking ass right now. No question. There is there's really nothing. I mean, of course, you can nitpick, and there are problems with every wrestling show. But from top to bottom, you look at the roster, everything going on. I mean, SmackDown is the best damn wrestling show going on right now. And it's really hard to argue. I mean, the ratings last night were definitely a nice little indicator that is true. So definitely want to give a shout out to SmackDown, the whole SmackDown crew, everybody that's going on there. It feels good to be a part of the Blue brand and to give you guys a SmackDown review here on a weekly basis. I definitely enjoy it, and I want to keep doing this. I hope that SmackDown will continue to be easy to cover because it's so damn entertaining. But on that note, I do want to thank you guys once again for listening. We got some more episodes of the Football Function coming out this week, talking about some of the preseason action. So if you're interested in football, go check us out there. But if not, I will be back next week for the SmackDown review. Definitely check out all the other shows in the meantime with Anthony DeMarco, Mimi Burris, Zach Smith covering NXT. The mailbag, obviously, whether it's Matt or another casual wrestling crew takeover. Either way, it's going to be some good stuff. So definitely want to get involved there, get those emails in, get those voicemails in. And let's have another good week here. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. Walk passionately in the direction of your dreams, and I'll talk to you soon.